Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Paddy, for the introduction. I would just say that currently I'm working for a company, Jubaili Brothers, which produce diesel generators. I'm not in the wrong movie, I'm not in the wrong room. We started now adding the solar part to it, so just to compensate for what we were doing in the years before. So hopefully we will be able to offset what we've done before. I would like to talk about BIPV, Building Integrated Photovoltaics. So basically, you know, when you're looking for a job or something, you hear sometimes you are overqualified, so you don't get what you want. I feel this, just if we talk again about the point which Mia mentioned about renewables, that they are sexy, for that they get the attention. I believe that BIPV is the sexiest, for that they don't get the attention they deserve. They are really overqualified in this field. So I would like to talk to you about this topic a bit. Why I chose BIPV? Because basically at the time of my thesis, I was working on one of the biggest projects in the world in BIPV. And at that time, my thesis was, it was not only just an overview about BIPV, it was more into market entry options for a company that works with BIPV, where we studied the market of the Middle East and North Africa. For our presentation today, small and simple, I just will talk about the overview and the available technologies of BIPV. So basically, we'll be talking about the difference between BIPV and BAPV, why BIPV modules, BIPV advantages, products, categories, global market outlook, of course, and then the challenges, which I consider the most important slide. First, let's start with the BAPV. BAPV is the building attached photovoltaics or building applied photovoltaics. Basically, as we see in this picture, it's just a building, functional and running and everything, and then you add above it the PV part. The most important thing about BAPV, it's regarded as an add-on to the building. It's not part of the building. And secondly, it has no function other than producing electricity for the building. There is no structural function of these modules. While here, looking at this picture showing BIPV, here we see that BIPV is integrated into the building. It's part of the building. When we think of BIPV, we need to think of it as a building material, not as an add-on to the building. So here, it has a function to do in the envelope of the building. So here, for example, if you remove one of these modules, you will have water leaking inside the apartment. It's a roof. It's a roof at the end. So it will do what the roof does to protect from the environment. So why BIPV modules? We all know that buildings are the major consumer of energy, about 40% of the total energy in the world. These buildings in many places around the world, due to different building cultures, they have small rooftop footprint. So you see the towers and all this stuff. You see like a huge number of people living in one building which has very small roof. And usually the roof is kept more important things, such as the chillers, the air conditioners, and all this stuff. In addition to that, BIPV can introduce savings in the building material and installation costs. So instead of building the building and then adding another BIPV, the normal modules, here it's 2-in-1, as they say. I will talk about the advantages of BIPV, what you get from them. So the standard PV modules, I mean, I think many of you has already dealt with architects, and architects really can get so obsessed about how the building will look. And we as engineers, we try to convince them about something that this works, but they will say, no, this is not nice, and they will stop the idea immediately. So many people thought that the PV modules are ugly. So many people think the BIPV modules are nice. So they have an added value for the building. They are introduced as an architectural elements and cladding. My previous company, we used to work in cladding. That's why we entered the BIPV, because this is the cladding of the future. That was the idea. So basically here, if we look at this building, which is Sheikh Zayed, by the way, all my examples are from buildings in the Middle East, because that was my original thesis. So here we see these are all PV modules. They look nice when you look at them from here. They have also they have very enhancing owner image. This is very important thing when, especially if we're talking about the CSR of companies, when you want to say like, yeah, we are doing very good job for the environment, so we have BIPV modules, we make the facade of our building. This gives a very nice image or idea about the owner, how that they are interested in the environment and they take care of that. Another use here, like in these BIPV modules, they have integrated with LEDs, LED lighting. So we look at the facade here during the night with colors. Some people find it nice. You can make this kind of designs. You can add this kind of touch to your building. Another important advantage of BIPV, they can use it as light controllers. Like where I came from in the UAE, it's impossible for schools to let kids go outside in the summer. They will end up with scandal, catastrophe. All the kids are dead maybe. But in this case, you can use like the BIPV modules to provide shading. So here we see all the, this is the playground. It's all covered with BIPV modules that are used to provide shading. Of course, the shading will has another effect, which is reducing your heating load of the building. That's very important also in hot countries, that to reduce all your electricity bills. So it will add another savings to the bill. Of course, BIPV modules are PV modules at the end, and they produce electricity. And in some building here in Khartoum, Sudan, where the grid is not strong, it's not stable, and you don't have place on the roof, you have to put it on the facade. And that's what they did here. So we have this building with a huge facade of BIPV modules that's helping the building to function. Without it, they don't have any electricity enough. Now, the categories of the current BIPV modules, I will talk a bit about them. So let's start with the foil products. Foil products, they are more the flexible ones. I think you hear about them much in the news, but we don't see them in reality. And that's the truth, unfortunately. They are still not much introduced with commercial value. They are mostly thin film cells that are woven into fabrics. They can be used as in structures like tents, like car parking. Car parkings in the sunny areas, it's very important aspect of introducing solar energy. Even here in this design of the World Expo in 2020 in Dubai, most of the designs there now, they use what they call it solar shading. So all this supposedly shadings here, they are all made of BIPV modules. They are BIPV foil modules. They are all flexible. So a very short way, if you want to become rich and you have access to one of these products, go to Dubai and sell them these ones. I assure you will become very rich. Now, the second category is the BIPV tile products, which I think many also have heard of it recently, since Tesla started introducing their own product in this line. So they look exactly like the tiles. One of the best advantages of them that you don't need to change anything. You can just replace the tiles on a building. It can be used even easily in refurbishment. You don't need to change the mentality of the people who are doing the installations. Just normal tiles, of course with a cable that you need to connect at the end, but it's still way easier than the rest to implement. Also, we see these interesting products, which I found them, they are there before Tesla, but again, Tesla is so way sexy. BIPV module products. BIPV module products, they are more very closely related to the standard PV modules. The glass modules can be used in this case, and it's all about the way you integrate them in the building. They are not very special products, so they are, let's say, the most economical ones. Now, the most interesting ones for me are the solar cell glazing products. These ones, they are made from glass. They are mostly custom made for projects, and you can introduce many changes in them. So you can have them with different colors, different shapes, different transparencies. Here, they look like a sandwich, basically. So you have two layers of glass, and then in the middle you have the encapsulation material, and the solar cells in between them. Now, they come in different colors. The coloring of the BIPV modules, these glass products, earlier it was achieved by changing the color of the cell itself. The cells were changed the colors during the anti-reflection coating. So by adding different layers, you can give it different colors, as we can see here. Now, they look nice, but they don't look like all homogeneous. They look like more like a piece of marble. I remember in one of the exhibitions, one lady came and said, yeah, I want like this to my kitchen. It looks very nice for the kitchen table. Well, the newest, the most recent way of coloring the BIPV modules, it's by just coloring the glass. Instead of coloring the cells, you can just use colored glass. Of course, we will have some losses, but again, you will get a very nice product which is so homogeneous and so nice colors. Look at these. These are all BIPV modules. This is from my previous company, and if you look at them, they are just, I would say, amazing. They are so pretty. The last category, product category of BIPV is the roofing products. These ones are, maybe you can argue that this is not a BIPV because you can just add it above the building. It's just strips of flexible thin film that can be added without any mounting structure on buildings, and especially warehouses where you have all this roof metals made of sheet metal. So it's very cheap and easy add-on. This is the global market outlook. It's not so important, I think, since I don't have much time. The expected outlook of the market in the future. Luckily, not luckily, I would say, that's what in my study, I realized that the most important one would be the roofing, the roof, the standing seam metal roofing and all this stuff. But apparently, they said, no, the skylines will be taking the majority of the market share. That's nice. That's the other type of them. So just I will try to talk much in all my time, the left I have, about this slide. What are the problems we're having about introducing BIPV products? The first of all is lack of awareness. I mean, the standard PV modules is very easy. You can just, because basically who's taking the decision is just another fellow engineer. You can just talk to him, convince him with number, it's over. But when you're talking about BIPV, you will have to deal with architects, which are not so easy to convince. Many of them are not aware of what you can do. I mean, I will tell you this incident in the year 2014, in August. I still remember when they published a design of a building that they want to build in Dubai, and this is going to be an amazing thing. So I just immediately, I got the number of the architect, I called him and I told him this will be an amazing case for BIPV modules. The guy ignored me completely. After 1 year, I heard from someone else coming to us, one of our subcontractors. He said, yeah, that architect is looking for a solution. Can you help him? So I called the guy. I told him, just look at your email last August, 1 year. And he was so excited when I told him that we can do it. And we did the presentation. It took us 1 day. He came to us and visited the factory. I mean, they just don't know what you can do with it. You can do a lot. Another major drawback of the BIPV is currently their high cost. They are not as cheap as the standard PV modules. Long return on investment, it's not only due to high costs, it's also because you are not installing them in the optimal way. You will install them wherever the building is oriented. So basically, you will have less electricity production, and that will be reflected into longer ROI. Lack of legal support. There is nothing, I think only France had something or Switzerland also, for specifically for supporting BIPV installations. Lack of financial support, also there, say, tailor-made solutions for funding these projects. And the lastly, which is also a very important one, it has very limited introduction to new projects, because the introduction is only for new projects, sorry. You cannot just go to a building which is finished 2 years ago and tell the guy, how about you remove all your facade and just install BIPV instead of it? It doesn't work like this. So you have to work only with either major restorations or the new projects. And thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Michel, for the
Thank
nice presentation. Michel talked about the BAPV and the BIPV. BA, applied, attached, photovoltaic. BI, it's in the integrated photovoltaic. Both of them produce electricity. BAPV only produces electricity, but the BIPV has extra functions, such as it is integrated as part of the building for cladding, for windows, for architectural design, for shading. 40% of the global energy consumption goes to buildings, and I would add that 80% of the total life cycle cost is during the operational life. So that's why buildings are really important. Michel talked about the types of BIPV, the flexible foil, the thin film, mostly thin film, the tiles, the roof tiles, the glazing products with different shapes, different transparencies, different colors, and the roofing products. Also, Michel covered the market potentials, and he talked about the challenges of BIPV. The main challenges are the awareness, the high cost, and the long ROI, sorry. So I open the floor for questions to Michel.
Hi, Michel. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Very interesting, these products, but what is the problem understanding? How do you handle overheating in integrated?
Handle overheating. We have to live with it.
So there is a lot of loss.
Yeah. I mean, it's just BIPV, they are not the optimum products. We need to take whatever we can take from them. Building material which has a payback period, which no other building material has. It's just instead of having a glass window, you will have a window which will pay for itself. So even if it pays in 10 years, I still think it's okay. Yes?
Thank you very much for the presentation. My question was a bit on the payback period. So you mentioned that one of the disadvantages is that the payback period is comparatively long. I just wanted to know if that already includes the savings you already made on the building material, or is the long payback period just purely defined based on like electricity generation compared to other solar and roof?
That's a a key question here. When it comes to BIPV, it always has to be looked at as a building material. So whenever you're saying, let's say, you want to install BIPV modules, you need also to subtract the cost of the material that you could have used there. But it still will be long ROI. It will still be long. Yeah?
High cost, how high is it compared to the regular?
It's a very difficult question, because basically most of these products, they are custom made. And you can do whatever you want. It's like you want the glass to be like only 6 millimeters, or you want it to be 10 millimeters, so you can do also insulation from the atmosphere. You want it to be colored, or you want it to be just as it is. It's very difficult question, but it starts maybe from 3 to 25 times the price of a normal PV module.
Minimum 3 times.
Or even, I would say, it's sometimes the same price if you will consider using glass-to-glass modules in an application which is building integrated. It's the same price as the standard PV.
Because when we talk about coloring other fancy things, right?
Yeah.
That all, you will do that anyway with your building material. You would be choosing something fancy like that. So that has a higher price.
Yeah.
So when compared to just the solar portion of this material, would it be comparable to the...
Just to give you a rough indication, I met one of the guys who are producing these ones, and he said in Dubai, a typical 1 meter square of facade, glass facade, it costs like $270. He said, I can make it with 340 BIPV. So you have a $70 difference on 1 meter square.
What was the biggest project you have been involved in? You mentioned at the beginning, and you have shown many examples.
Yeah, I cannot show the photos of it, unfortunately, due to copyrights, let's say, or it's a project in Mecca, in Saudi. It's about 1.7 megas. It's a very big project, and it's like a tunnel which will be all covered with BIPV modules. They are all curved. They are like a half circle. They will be covering the whole tunnel.
Yeah, Michel, thank you for the good presentation. Just a bit of digression. At the beginning, you made mention of your company being one of the biggest exporter of generators
Yeah.
to Africa and other parts of the world. Now, the same company is in solar PV business.
Yeah.
Are you having any sort of conflicts in decision making as to how to get your generator business sustainable as well as your solar PV business?
We tried not to shoot ourselves in the legs. So instead of promoting only solar products, we are promoting PV diesel hybrid. So we do both at the same time. That's what we try to offer. We want to still sell diesel generators.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Yeah, Tim.
Last question, please.
Those last panels you're talking about, the $270 to $340, that's similar to what I'm saying there, 10 to 15% more expensive. But the amount of electricity actually generated is very, very low, and that's why the return on investment's so high too. Any advances in that?
It's more. Okay, let's give you some numbers. The modules that we are using for our big project, the one in Mecca, that's 2 years ago, they had an efficiency of 10%. Let's say that's compared to the 15 or 16%. It's not so bad. It's not completely off the chart. But when you will install them, they will be installed. They said sometimes they might be installed vertically, and maybe to the west, where they will get sun only for half an hour or 1 hour during the day. So that will make the return on investment very long, because basically you're not getting optimized. You're not getting the full production out of it.
Do you have any value in the OpEx?
Pardon me?
The OpEx, in the maintenance cost, understand would be value.
It's higher basically because if you have a window, you need to clean it more than a standard PV module. But again, this is the same OpEx as the normal window. If you're gonna clean the window, it doesn't matter if it's glass or if it's solar. You need to clean the window anyway. So it's the same as the normal standard material.
Okay. But I will deduct this from your time.
Michel, we all know that the cost of BIPV is high now. But compared with the cost of the BIPV that was extremely high, let's say 20 years ago, and now we are where we are. What is the expectation for the cost of BIPV over time?
Yeah, I think it's dropping. It's dropping dramatically, especially like when we are talking about coloring the cell, or we're just using glass. Using just colored glass, it makes the thing way cheaper and way easier. So I think it's dropping. It's dropping for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.